voices. I don't think it was mentioned, but our young lady Jackie here is one of our, I'm proud to say, one of our local WEU Voices gals. So thank you, Jackie. And Lady in the pink is next.
I have the current, she'll be 11th grader. She has taken the Keystone Algebra 3 times. She has normally in the past been almost a straight A student. The results of her failing the Algebra 1 test has not only caused her to have an anxiety disorder and can't attend school on a regular basis because she fears she's not going to be able to pass for graduation. My question to you is, why do I have to resort to thousands and thousands of dollars of taking her to a psychologist to accomplish an IEP that you as a district or as a state have created on my child?
Does your child have an IEP?
She has a 504. Her district, we can't get her qualified for an IEP, but she has a GAD disorder. I have a second question.
Okay.
To accomplish all these results, I also have a to-be 7th grader. I removed him from the public school system, and I personally put him in a cyber school. That child has not only gone from, and he has an IEP, he has physically gone from almost failing grades to a straight A student because I have physically homeschooled him for his math programs and for his testing. My question to you is, why do we have as a parent have to resort to homeschooling our children to get the results that you're requiring them to have?
Well, first of all, if you have an IEP, you're not required to take the exam. If you are, it's a local decision, not a state decision.
Well, I understand that, but your local decisions are making it require them to do an IEP, which they can't even sit through.
But
They can't even
then
answer
you
the
need to take
question.
it up with your local school board. That has nothing to do with the state. The state does not require that. And if there is no IEP,
But it's
no
your
IEP
standards.
let me respond to your first question, and that was, if a child takes a test, a student takes a test twice, they are not required to take it again. They can do a project-based assessment, and if they can't do the project-based assessment successfully, they can be waived by the superintendent. So no one is a double negative.
But why would I put my daughter through 3 years of tormentation of failing tests, constantly failing a PBA, which she is now wasted 3 years of her choosing electives that she can't take for her career because she has to pass your remedial classes. Now she gets half a credit for that, but it's not going towards her career ready, which is what the state says that she's required to do. Now the only way you can accomplish that is to pull her out and have an evaluator look over her education and say that she's passed and she gets a diploma.
Come to see me later, because there's other people behind you, and I'm sure there's other people that have questions. And to be perfectly honest, the ultimate in local control is homeschooling. That's so.
Hey, I thank you for your question and comments. We're not trying to be short, but we want to get as many as we can. And I'm not being fair to the people who took all the effort to give us questions beforehand, but I can't pass off a smiling face.
As a school board director of a local school in this area, I applaud some of these people for their comments on the math and that. Modern technology is there, but if you don't have the basics, you can't handle the technology. So we need to put our money back into teaching the basics. Why are we not doing that? Because all the technology in the world, if you don't have that basic education, it's not going to help them. So why are we not teaching the basics first? Whether it be the core, whether it be math, to learn how
Do you
to
teach the
change that.
basics in your school?
No, because of Common Core.
Oh.
Common Core is what's killing us.
No, what's killing you is the pensions. The pensions are what's killing every line item. We can talk about, folks, if you look at the budget, I mean, we can talk about this ad nauseum, but the fact is, there's one line item that is killing districts, and that's pensions. Do you know it? And
Teasers is killing us. I will admit that. That's hurting everybody in this community. But getting back to the original question, we need the basics. Why are we not insisting on having basics before we give them the modern technology. Because all the technology in the world, once the electric goes out, is not going to help those people. So let's go back to basics.
Thank you for your comments. You just stood up there, sir, so I'm gonna let you stand for a little bit while I have a short one here that, okay. Are the PSSA and/or Keystone tests graded on a curve by the state? The answer is no. See, I didn't take long. Go ahead, sir.
I really don't have a question, but I have a comment. I need to make one comment. I have 7 children, and I have a wife who is an educator, and I've heard her complain about Common Core.
Yeah, put the mic a little closer.
I've heard her complain about Common Core for the past 8 years. She's 11th grade forensics teacher. And God bless her, because she taught all our kids. Even they went to public school, but she was the backbone behind teaching them. And we have very successful children, engineers, doctors, psychiatrists. And I really didn't know anything about Common Core until about 48 hours ago. And I went out on the computer and I went through maybe 25 hours worth of reading Common Core. And there was one thing that made it was a debate between a Diane Rodset and Coleman, that we talked about earlier. And one of the most compelling statements that she made is that Common Core is a theory based on an assumption grounded in hope.
Thank you for your comments. I really appreciate that, but let's focus on questions. Go ahead, just sir.
Hello, just a question as far as maybe some verification too with Common Core. This is something, again, maybe national, some are saying it isn't, but when it's going to go through everything, homeschooling, private schools, public schools, parochial schools, any school you can think of has to follow these so-called standards. And then that's going to go right through to college, where they have to start accepting all these people, the kids, whatever. So everything's going to be geared right from pre-kindergartner, even trying that.
What's your question, sir? We're getting short of time.
Is this true? All this stuff. So what difference are we going to have? Everything's going to be the same. You can't teach all the kids all the same things and expect any of them.
Somebody said, follow the money. It's been thrown around here for a while. Follow the money. Yeah, follow the money. Who is going to make a homeschool person do Common Core? Who's going to make a parochial school person, or a private school, or even a university for that matter? You want to talk about high-stakes tests, the SAT, which we pay for, is a high-stakes test. Nobody whines about that.
That's a great question. How are we going to do this? And here's the reason. Here's how we're going to do it. David Coleman, since he finished being the architect of Common Core, has a new job now. He's head of the college board. His job now is to align the SATs to Common Core. So the SATs are going to be aligned to Common Core, which means the faith-based students, the homeschool students, if they want to take the SATs, you're SOL. So New Jersey has, time's up. See me after.
You made your point, I appreciate it, and I have 5 minutes for unity here, which I'm going to give up because there's so much, but what I have to say is more important. Anyway, I think these questions are more important. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Corollary to the young lady's address here. Can you tell me, since we put men into space 50 years ago, the testing that was used at that time has trigonometry, geometry, algebra, calculus changed? Has William Shakespeare, Ernest Hemingway, Mark Twain changed? Has Galileo, Gregor Mendel, Darwin changed? Why are the tests that were sufficient to put men into space 50 years ago not sufficient to test the basics of what our students need today?
Keystone exams are course-ending exams. All right, Algebra 1 is a course-ending exam. Literature is a course-ending exam. It's completely different than the PSSA, which was an inch deep and a mile wide that you're asked to regurgitate 11th grade stuff that you learned 4 years ago. These tests are an improvement because it represents what you've just learned in the past quadrennial. And that's what Keystone's doing. Again, we're talking about two different issues, Keystone, Common Core. But to answer your question, we've always had assessing. And you're right, trig is trig, but we're not assessing trig. We're not assessing that. That's a local decision. So if your child or student graduates with an A+ in Calc and bombs the math SAT, who are you going to look at? You're going to look at the SAT, or are you going to look at the curriculum of your high school?
Colleges across the state and across the country do not look at or consider the Keystone exams for graduation. One of the tenets we're told is that the Keystone exams are to make, and Common Core, is to make our students college and career ready. They do not consider at all the Keystone exam scores. What's happening, they do consider SAT, they do consider class rank, and they do consider your grades. So why is my daughter, why is Jackie spending so much time on one test when it's not even considered for college? Not only that, if my daughter or Jackie gets accepted to college early and they haven't yet passed the Keystone exams, well, college has already accepted them, but they won't get a diploma and they won't graduate from high school because of a single 90-minute test. Also, students who get NCAA scholarships for sports have already been accepted to college. And many times, students can't afford to go to college, and the scholarship is their pathway to their education, but they haven't passed a 90-minute test. That is not making our kids college ready.
I think it's kind of odd to consider a course-ending exam when the teacher is teaching the course throughout the year, but can't see the exam.
Thank you all. We're running a little bit late. I hope no one's in a real hurry, because I know we're going to be a little past 8:30. In any case, we'll keep going, but we'll take 2 more questions from the audience, and the heck with mine. Go ahead, please.
You touched a little bit just as I was coming up here on the issue of the SATs. There is such a high rate of people, students not doing well that have previously done well on this test. And it seems to me, since the test is done with 11th graders and you have 11th graders historically taking the SAT test, I don't see why the state can't do, or why the test makers of the test, whatever alphabet soup it is, can't do some comparisons pretty darn quick of why don't you guys do some comparison, just some historical data and do a retrospective study so you can tell right away where the problem is and give the test some validity or find out if it's not valid.
They should have done that with the PSSA. We had No Child Left Behind, and we have the testing associated with that, and now we have Race to the Top, which is No Child Left Behind on steroids. But nobody went and looked at the tests and researched the value of these tests. What's the value? I don't know what my daughter did, what her weaknesses are. None of us know. My daughter's teachers don't know what her weaknesses are in the PSSA, the Keystone exams.
The data's there. All they got to do is pull it from different places.
Who?
The data, when you take those tests in school, they always said, like, there was a test I graduated in the 80s, and there was a test that, like, you're strong and
Well, that was maybe the Iowa test of basic scores.
Okay, but isn't there a test that they take now that shows like their strengths and their weaknesses?
No, there is not. We don't get any results with the test prep. We don't see what their weaknesses are. We don't see what their strengths are, nor do their teachers.
That
And we should be spending more time studying for the SATs.
Thanks a lot. I hope that answered your question. Listen, hey, if it did not, please see her in the back, and I appreciate it. We'll take one more and then keep it short.
For 100 years or more, parents have been able to look at the textbooks their kids bring home and then put them next to the tests they took and compare them and find out, the area of weakness for their children. We've heard here tonight that that is a difficulty on the Common Core. Mr. Whitting, I just wanted to know from you, is that a fair accusation?
Yes, it's a fair accusation because the way that 99% of the criticism is because parents can't help their kids anymore in Algebra 1. Or the philosophy of integrating math with other subjects and the complexity of and I'm not an educator, so if I get stumbling here, forgive me, but the fact is that when you're talking about math, it's not just a multiple choice, 5 answers, does not apply, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, check off 4. You can regurgitate that simply. Now with the component of relating it to a literature piece or something like that and integrating it, becomes very difficult. And it is a process that is being taught. And the kids who pick it up, and the kids who, and everybody can. It's a matter of the will of the educator, the educational community to do that. Now, everybody looks at Finland. I'm getting long in the future, I'm sorry. Finland is the model of the world. They're the brains, they're everything. They're about the size of Atlanta, and everybody looks the same. So if they want to do something, they go in over and say, yeah, let's all do it. So we can't compare ourselves to Finland. We're not Finland. The fact is, when you're talking about math, literature, and you're looking on the world stage, how come we rank so low in standardized tests? Because they are doing the approach that Pennsylvania core standards are taking. If we're pulling out of the world, okay. If we're pulling out of the Fed, that's fine. But when rubber hits the road, you have to still be competitive internationally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I disagree with that. I don't think the fault is that the parents can't grasp it. I don't think Algebra 1 is really either the best example. My daughter's in 3rd grade. I turned out okay at my age, but for some reason her 3rd grade math just boggles my mind when you're not allowed to carry a 1 anymore. America is a land of innovation. If we can start getting back to that and developing for ourselves, who cares about matching what the rest of the world does? Let them chase us.
Thank you. Jim's back here trying to get me off of this podium. But I have one thing that I feel very strongly on. I'm Unity Chairman. My job is to reach out and get people involved. And I really want to beg of you on this one. We need your help. You've got to contact your legislators and senators in Washington. Right now, they are debating a bill, you heard Rod talk about it, on the trade agreements. It is so horrific, it is unbelievable. The administration wants to do it. It will give the president powers to control trade, education, worker, I forget what word to use, meaning immigration, and bypass the Congress. They're talking about setting up a commission of non-elected people who will make all these decisions. Please call our elected officials and tell them not to vote for the trade agreement, TPA. Thank you. Sorry, Kim.
I'd like to thank all of our panelists. Please give them a hand for being up here. Our next month's meeting will be Heritage for America.